There's a growing rift in the Democratic Party, and you saw it this past week when 6 Democrats, some would argue strategically, i.e. at the direction of Democratic leadership, voted with Republicans to pass a $1.5 trillion defense spending package and advance the House National Defense Authorization Act Amendment 219 that, if successful, would merge Israel's military with ours forevermore, essentially. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. House Minority Leader and Speaker hopeful Hakeem Jeffries has long been in Israel's pocket.
Congress will continue to support, in a bipartisan way, the state of Israel and Israel's unequivocal right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state, always and forever. Always and forever. Always and forever.
And after receiving one of his largest AIPAC donations ever this year, he voted against cutting further aid and funding arms to Israel, despite 100 Democrats in his caucus breaking ranks and voting to stop the arms and money flow to Israel.
Did you oppose cutting aid to Israel, given that so many people are saying that the U.S. is funding this genocide where so many people in Gaza have been murdered?
I think that I laid clearly out the reasons that I both voted no on the Massey Amendment and the things that I believe need to be done in order to move the relationship with the United States, Israel, and the Palestinian people forward in a far more constructive and productive manner.
There are over 100 Democrats who voted with the Massey Amendment. You were not one of them. Does that mean you're out of step with the direction that this party's going when it comes to—
If you ask me a serious question, I'll give you a serious answer.
Way to be for those 2 reporters just hounding him. That's how every politician and lawmaker who is currently supporting Israel should be treated right now. Question them, hold their feet to the fire. Absolutely. Way to go. Now, all of this, he's doing this, even though the ICC has named Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, and a UN independent commission recently determined that Israel is committing genocide by deliberately targeting Palestinian children. Here's what New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani recently had to say about Netanyahu.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire.
And yet, fellow New Yorker Hakeem Jeffries, when he was pressed about Mayor Mamdani's comments, he refused to agree with not only the mayor, but also with the International Criminal Court itself.
Do you agree with Zohran Mamdani's position that the federal government should comply with the ICC's arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
I haven't talked to him about this issue. He's been very vocal on the issue. I continue to maintain the position that, one, we've got to figure out how to move things in a better direction in the Middle East.
In a recent post where Jeffries condemned the war in Iran, and let me remind you why we are at war with Iran right now. It is because of Israel. It's because we are effectively being led through the nose by Israel. We're now just like Israel's puppet. He was effectively ratioed in the comments section. Here's the post he put out, or one of his staffers likely did. Jeffries writes, Operation Epic Failure has been named a disaster for the American people. Donald Trump's reckless war of choice in Iran must end immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then somebody writes, you know what else has been an epic failure? Your weak and feckless leadership. And this person writes, you are Netanyahu's puppet. You are no better. Tutors Reimagine writes, Operation Epic Failure is what we all call you, AIPAC guzzler. Somebody else says, why don't you do your fucking job then? Quit attacking progressives like the people's mayor and attack Republicans, asshole. Megan Twee writes, then you should have voted to stop sending aid to Israel. And the comments just go on and on. I mean, there were thousands. He just got fully ratioed. And it's like this every time he posts. he gets far more hate than he ever gets support, as opposed to somebody like Senator Chris Murphy or somebody like that. And then there were some posts that were referring to Hakeem reportedly making a tense phone call recently to progressive and independent Senator Bernie Sanders, telling him to, quote, stop meddling in the primaries, particularly one involving a Black incumbent in North Carolina in such a critical midterm election. And New York Representative Greg Meeks, also a Hakeem ally, said, quote, this, he's referring to Senator Sanders, quote, he seemed not to care, which I think is so funny. Sanders is like, shoot, get out of my face, Hakeem Jeffries. I'm not listening to your bullshit. And it's funny that Hakeem allegedly got angry over a candidate of color, because when Missouri Rep. Cori Bush and fellow New Yorker Representative Jamal Bowman, both Black incumbents, lost after AIPAC spent more than $15 million to oust them from Congress, Jeffries didn't seem to give a shit then. Funny how that works, huh? But if you're in the AIPAC pro-Israel pocket, then suddenly it's an issue about color. I mean, the hypocrisy is rich, Rep. Jeffries. So this rift, it appears that it's not only Republicans, obviously, they're all in on fascism, they're all in on Israel, they're just fascist. But Democratic leadership appears to be losing touch with the base, and that leaders like AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, Milot Quiros, who's the candidate in Colorado who just defeated a longtime incumbent, and more progressive leaders have a better pulse on what Americans want in 2026. And that is, and this is across the board, not just for Democrats or people on the left, Medicare for all, a 32-hour work week, public ownership of major corporations, universal rent control, because nobody can afford housing anymore, higher taxes on the wealthy, and a federal wealth tax to address the incredibly out of control economic inequality. And that's what people want. Y'all, we are at a breaking point right now. People cannot survive at this rate. Gas just went through the roof again because of Trump and this nonstop war. We are paying trillions for never-ending wars so that the Epstein class can get ever richer, so that Donnie and his sons can make yet more money off their drones, and all these people, Hegseth, they've all invested in government contracting firms. No, people are done. You know what else they are done with? Israel.
Candidates want to be of Israel and U.S. aid to Israel. Over the summer, it's been largely seen as a Democratic issue, but it might not just be a party thing. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. When we're talking about Israel's favorability in the United States, in general, there's some big changes.
There are some absolutely huge, mammoth changes, generational changes that we're talking about. I think there are a lot of Republicans, we'll be able to run against these anti-Israeli Democrats once we hit the general election, because the general electorate feels very differently from the Democratic base. But the general electorate, look at these numbers on Israel, the net favorability. They're all negative. They're all negative. Ipsos, minus 10 points. Fox, minus 11 points. Marquette University Law School Law poll. Look at that, minus 20 points. Pew Research Center, minus 23 points. Negative, 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 negative. And Gallup earlier this year was also negative. We're not just talking about the Democratic base anymore. We're talking about the general electorate as well. The general electorate has turned against Israel. This is not just a left issue. It is an American issue when it comes to opinions on Israel.
What's the trend line here?
What's the trend line here? The trend line is unbelievable. Look at the trend line here. Compare this to Donald Trump's first term. At this point in Donald Trump's first terms, Israel's average net favorability.
Wow.
You go back here. Look at this. It was plus 51 points. Wow, Johnny says. Wow, Johnny says, because this is what? Plus 51. It's minus 16 points in the average poll now. That is what? A 67-point shift against Israel in just 8 years. Israel used to be a consensus issue in American politics, and that was a pro-Israeli position. Now the consensus has actually shifted, and now when it comes to general electorate, it is a minus. Israel is now seen negatively, and we're seeing it in poll after poll after poll.
You just had this vote in the House where 100 Democrats voted against military assistance to Israel. How is that specific issue seen right now?
Yeah, you said wow, right? How about wow again? Take a look here. I never thought I'd see the day military assistance to Israel say U.S. should reduce or end it. Overall, 55% say they should reduce or end it. And it is true across the educational spectrum. 51% of non-college graduates, 62% of college graduates. So this isn't just an issue right among white liberals in Democratic primaries. No.
Yeah. Well, Hakeem, who desperately wants to be speaker, if the Dems are able to sweep this November, was not one of those 100 Democrats who voted to cut aid as part of the Thomas Massey Ro Khanna amendment. And neither was his number two, Catherine Clark out of Massachusetts, or Pete Aguilar out of California. Of course not. They all voted together. We're just going to keep on funding Israel. It's crazy. Even Nancy Pelosi voted to stop funding Israel. That should tell you something. I mean, she's retiring at the end of this term, but still, so at least some of these Democrats are starting to figure out which way the winds are blowing with their constituents, and that people want nothing else to do with a rogue nation that is committing genocide. And yet you have members of Congress like this Republican doing shit like this.
Disgusting behavior. This is Republican Congressman Brian Mast, who represents the 21st Congressional District in Florida. This is pictures from back in October. Who cares about when it was taken? This is a member of Congress wearing an Israeli military uniform inside our nation's capital. Not only that, he is the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. This is insane. This is absolutely, no other country would allow this garbage to happen. He needs to be removed from office. He definitely needs to be removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee because he can't be trusted, obviously.
I mean, he's a foreign agent is what he is. So he should be registered as one. That is not only a clown show, that's treason. To show up in Israel's uniform, he needs to go. And yet in Trump's America, in this fascist regime that we're living under, he shows up to Congress in an Israeli uniform. Like, Israel is running America right now. I don't know how to make that any more clear. And it's not just the Republicans, obviously. It's the Democratic Party, too, or the majority of. So, I mean, they're just so openly corrupt. And, from now until kingdom come, we're going to be hearing about how the Dems are communists. That's all we're hearing on Fox propaganda. Just communists. They're communists. They don't even know what the fuck communism is. I did a video for MeidasTouch recently on what communism is, what socialism is, what democratic socialism is. They're different. You can look it up. I think it's on my playlist. Hopefully it's somewhere. It was just a few weeks ago. But, we're going to be hearing about what communism is from Trump and his cronies because they have nothing else to run on. They have destroyed this country. They have nothing to run on except destruction, grift, and a mafia crime family named Trump and its enablers, which are the Republican Party. So check out my video. But in the meantime, I thought that this creator did a very good job of showing where America falls right now.
I say there are no centers in America. Some people are confused. So I made some charts. All right, here's a chart of the political spectrum. We have the center left, center right. We have far left and far right. We have extreme far left and extreme far right. You might also call those radical. Well, an example of extreme far left would be communism. An example of extreme far right would be fascism/Nazis. And in the center, healthcare for all and free education, which would include college education. Think of countries all over the world that have like a right-left divide, and at the center, they will all agree on things like healthcare and free education. The US is a total outlier here. These are centrist positions worldwide. This is where the US political system tracks onto the spectrum. Dems are at the center. GOP or Republicans is at the extreme far right, and any so-called centrists, quote unquote, are between those two, which makes them align with the far right. So when I say a centrist is just a conservative, that's what I mean. Their beliefs are far right beliefs on the political spectrum. Now, when I say Dems are in the center, what do I mean? They are. To the center left would be Dems like AOC and Bernie. Those are center left Dems. Center right would be the Kamala Wallstigen, which is very, pro-military. So Dems are sitting right here in the center. America effectively has nothing over here. Our extreme far left is centrist positions like free healthcare. This is what the US political system should look like. The Dems should be center left, and the GOP, or whatever they want to call their party, they can change the name, I do not care. The other party should be center right. And that's how it should look. And the reason it should look like that is because the vast majority of Americans have beliefs right here. If we're going to be a two-party system, which we are right now, our two parties should represent us right in the middle.
See that? AOC and Bernie are center left. They're not radical leftists. They're not commies. Not even close. The radical wingnuts are the fascists on the far right that are turning America into an authoritarian state. And you can hear AOC explain that to this reporter from the Mike Lindell of the My Pillow Guy fame network.
They want. I'm not here to be the belief police around here. But isn't there concern that, this slippery slope towards socialism inevitably ends up as full-blown communism? I mean, no?
I'm not concerned about America turning into a communist country in like a year. That is like, I think that is, I think it's very silly. You just think about how impossible it has been to raise the minimum wage in America in 10, 15, 20 years. We can't even raise the minimum wage. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about the fact that we all have a right to health care in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist, because if people actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here, then they're going to realize that they deserve better, and that healthcare as a right isn't crazy. It isn't pie in the sky. They want to call this stuff communist because they don't want us to realize that the rest of the developed world has guaranteed healthcare in this country. So they want to call it communist because they don't want you to know that Germany, Italy, the UK, Canada, everybody else has it better than us, and we spend the most amount of money for the worst care in the modern developed world.
Yeah, so we have huge primaries happening now. It'll be very interesting to see what happened over the next couple of weeks. Will these progressive candidates be able to pull it off? I mean, this huge Senate race in Michigan, the Democrat establishment is circling the wagons around Zionist candidates like Haley Stevens. I mean, you can just see they're working overtime to make sure they defeat Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. I find it disturbing. Is Israel first so much more important than Abdul's Medicare for all, green energy, and abolishing ICE platform? And this is the battle we're in right now within the Democratic Party. Instead of aligning together, there's this infighting because of Israel. You can see the impact and the corruption of the money that has been influxing into, I know the right, I'm not talking about Republicans, about our own side. And it's really disturbing to me. Will the progressives be able to pull it off? I don't know, because the establishment absolutely is all chipped in on the Zionism, on the AIPAC money. So, I mean, I'm seeing it in my own district here where this previous incumbent wants to win, and she's all chips in on Israel. And my God, I do not want her. And, so we're going to have to see. And, I don't know if it's enough to oust him as leader yet, but I can observe that the Democratic base is growing increasingly unhappy with Hakeem Jeffries' leadership. I mean, how can you struggle with calling out an internationally wanted war criminal in Benjamin Netanyahu? Like, how is that a difficult call for you, Hakeem Jeffries? You want to be the leader, continue to be the leader of the Democratic Party, and you can't call out a nation that is objectively committing genocide, and not one, two, but arguably 3 countries now: Lebanon, Gaza, Iran. They're in Syria. What they're doing is every bit as evil, and in some cases probably more so than what the Russians are doing to Ukraine. And you can't call that out because you're on the take. And I'm not just aiming this at Hakeem Jeffries. There are so many in Congress, but he's the leader of the Democratic Party on the House side. We know Chuck is, something's off in your soul, in my opinion. So it will be really interesting to see if we do get a sweep of much more progressive House members in this fall. We'll have to see what happens in the Senate. If they will, in fact, fall in line and support Hakeem, from what my sources tell me, even those who are in right now who don't really care for him, he apparently rules by fear and they'll just fold. But will this new incoming freshman House, if they get there, will they support Hakeem Jeffries as speaker if the Dems take it? I'm going to be like white on rice following the story. I'm tapping into my sources to see what happens, because he apparently rules with an iron fist, and it's like, you fall in line, you follow me, even though the nation as a whole is moving away from where he himself is standing, where he's trying to lead our party. I don't know. It's very frustrating to me. I don't know. Give me your thoughts below. What you think about this? I'll be following the story. All right. Peace out, guys.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasTouch.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.